Foreign Minister Murray McCulloch, we've been talking about it all morning, caught up with controversial Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte in Auckland last night. The minister's staff say it was an informal chat and wouldn't divulge what was discussed. Duterte, who is transiting through Auckland, is known for his brutal war on drugs, which has killed thousands of people, over 4,000 people so far, and for his fairly colourful descriptions of world leaders. I mean, he sidelined Barack Obama by talking about his lineage in a less flattering way even than Donald Trump. Joining me now is international relations expert Robert Patman. Robert, good morning to you.
Good morning, Paul.
Can we first of all talk about the kind of president that Duterte is? You will be aware that already this morning we've received a couple of emails, one in particular from reporting that a friend who is a very intelligent young Filipino person considers him to be the strongest and best president they have had for a long time.
Yes, but I think this is a short-term situation, Paul. President Duterte has only been in power a relatively short period of time. And already, I mean, he made a big pledge that he would be proactive in dealing with this very considerable drugs problem that the Philippines has. But he has carried out a series of extrajudicial killings. That is, people who are suspected of drug offences have been summarily killed without access to the courts. And a number of innocent people have been caught up in this. So I think for many people, they welcome the action that's occurring, but the long-term consequences of effectively imposing a form of gun rule may yet to surface,
okay.
And they could be deeply troubling.
So we're saying then the aims are admirable, but the systems of reaching those aims are not?
I think it's admirable that the president is trying to address this problem. I don't think it's admirable the way he's doing it, because there's too much scope for abuse, Paul. There could be, for example, people could settlings in the name of the war on drugs. They could be killing innocent people or even opponents of the president.
We were horrified at the time of the elections, and we were horrified that he might get in because of what he was saying he would do if he did get in. Subsequently, democratically, he was elected, wasn't he? I mean, everything he's doing now, essentially, he is just doing what he said he would do.
Yes, and he had a record as a mayor previously of carrying out this sort of activity. But again, it has major complications. A country like New Zealand, you refer to the fact Mr. McCulloch visited with him on an informal basis last night. We uphold the rule of law and also international human rights very seriously. If you're a small player in the international system, you really want to make sure that rules are adhered to. And yes. This is a descent into a free-for-all, and you can see a situation where the president of the Philippines, on other issues other than drugs, is going to have a real struggle to exhort Philippines to stick to the law when his administration can't stick to it on the issue of drugs.
Absolutely. I mean, is there an issue for us? Because certainly part of our brand is our strength when it comes to human rights. Absolutely, that is part of our brand. We champion this on the world stage. Is there an issue when this fellow transits through New Zealand and there is and it says informal, but it's an official meeting with our Minister of Foreign Affairs. Should that go ahead?
Well, it's a delicate balance. On the one hand, as you quite rightly say, New Zealand sets, its good name rests on its rigorous defence of international human rights. It doesn't want to be seen as backtracking on that. On the other hand, John Key has already made it clear at the APEC meeting in which he met Rodrigo Duterte that New Zealand does not like what he's doing in the so-called war on drugs. And I'm sure Mr. McCulloch repeated that message. But there are other issues which the New Zealand government wants to discuss with the Philippines. The decision of Mr. Trump to withdraw from the Trans-Pacific Partnership has created a new situation. The Philippines has expressed an interest in joining the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Right.
And this may be an issue which both sides want to consider. It also appears from the Philippines media that the issue of dairy links between the two countries has received some consideration.
Okay, so in spite of our strong differences in our condemnation of Duterte's methods, we should still engage with him, yes?
It depends to what degree. And also the extent, I think, which Duterte, I mean, quite frankly, he's got to stop this nonsense of describing the President of the United States in the way that he has.
Yep.
And also, we don't particularly like the way he's cuddling up to Mr. Putin or the Chinese government.
But I just want to ask you one final, very quick question, if you can, because we're desperately out of time, Robert.
Sure.
Are you concerned that we are staring down the barrel now at someone who in a few years' time we could be looking at as one of the worst kind of dictators there are?
That is the risk, and that's why I said it's a very delicate balance, and I'm very concerned about the present stance of the New Zealand government. I think we have to give it the benefit of the doubt. It may know things we don't. And clearly it was a carefully calculated decision by Mr. McCulley to speak to President Duterte last night. But I think he needs to make sure, and I'm sure he's thinking about this, that we do not compromise our stance on the rule of law and international human rights in engaging in any dialogue with this so-called strong man of the Philippines.
Robert Patman, international relations expert, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Dictator in the making, quite possibly. Watch the space. It is...